Time. That's what it says right here. Okay.
Awesome.
Hello, everybody. We're just going to take a moment to share the live podcast. So, Shelley's going to go to my page first. I have to go to my Facebook page, make sure it's public. Let's see. Here we are. Edit privacy, public. Okay, I'm public now, so you should be able to see it.
Stop it. Jazz, no. Stop it. Oh, I can see it. So let's just share it to my page.
There you go. Yeah, so just that share button at the bottom, and you should be able to share it.
All right.
There we go. We did it.
Woohoo! Yay!
Hi, everybody here live. Welcome to the Empowered Light Leader podcast. I am Sarah, intuitive coach and channel, and this is our first podcast. Yay! And this, and we might have some doggies barking, but that's okay. So I'm just going to pull up make sure we have the comments here. So let us know you're watching, you're here. We're so excited for this show. I have a special guest, Shelley, and we're so excited to hear from Shelley. We're going to talk about the Akashic Records and your soul purpose. And we're going to do a little bit of a demo at the end. Shelley's going to pull some cards for everybody. So if you're interested in having some cards pulled, just put your questions in the comments or any questions for Shelley as they pop up. So this is a brand new show. I'm going to be airing this show weekly from now on. I have guests already booked up until May and June now. So we'll be having a weekly guest every week. Exciting things are around the bend, around the corner. Have workshops coming up, channelings coming up, and we'll talk more about that later. So how are you, Shelley?
I am well, and my dog is just saying yes, he's well too.
Maybe he feels the energy. Yeah, so why don't you tell everybody what it is that you do? So I know that you're a certified Oracle card reader and a life coach, Akashic Records reader. Why don't you tell everybody what you do and maybe how long you've been doing it, or maybe how you got started, what drew you into that work?
All right. Yes, that sounds great. Jazz, enough. All right, I'm going to ignore him. So I'm trying to, but then he runs away. So he's just being a little annoying.
He wants attention.
He wants the attention, but then he doesn't want me to pick him up. So
that's so funny. He's playing hard to get.
Yes, he is. So I started on this course quite a while ago. My story happens to be one of decades of depression and working with doctors and medication and counseling. It all helped. But it didn't get me to a point where I felt like I was living. It got me to where I was stable and where I wanted to, I felt like, okay, well, I'm alive, but I was existing. I wasn't really living.
So you on medication?
Yeah. And it did help. But I had to try a number of different ones. I think I've gone through a good portion of them. But I also, there were some that I kind of refused to go on. I just didn't like some of them.
Did you feel like it made you numb? I've heard that from people.
I felt numb without the medication. So, but yeah, it kind of does. Like, I don't think I experienced a feeling for quite a while. Like, I really have no idea. Like, it took me ages, and I have to laugh because I think it was in 2019. I believe it was February. And I was going to Costco with my sister and brother-in-law, which is really not that exciting. But I was in the back seat and I just thought, I feel really strange. Like, what is this that I'm feeling? Like, this is really weird. And it hit me that I was feeling happy. And I did not recognize happiness.
Wow.
Yeah. I had no idea what it felt like because I hadn't been happy I honestly think I started getting depressed when I was a child. I
Mm.
did a lot of um, trying to fit in. And I never felt like I was good enough, which I think a lot of women feel.
Yes.
And I still remember back in I think it was grade 1, having one of my friends come up to me with a bunch of the popular girls standing in a semicircle behind her and saying, "You can't be my friend anymore." And then walking off with all the popular
Oh my
girls.
God, what girl hasn't had? I had that too.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
glad. Well, I mean, I'm not glad, but I'm glad I'm not the only one.
No, you're
But
not the only one. I think most of us go through something like that. Yeah.
yeah, but,
Yeah.
to me, that was just like, "Okay, I'm not good enough, like, what's wrong with me?"
Yeah.
And that was, it was just kind of the starting point. Well, it started before that, I guess, but kind of like, "What am I doing wrong? Like, why does nobody like me? Why don't I fit in?"
Mm,
And so
yeah.
then I spent years, up until, like, my late 20s trying to be who I thought everybody wanted me to be. So I was so lost. I really feel like that's where my depression really came from,
Right.
was the fact I didn't know who I was.
Yes,
I
because you were
couldn't
being something for other people, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And so with the help that I was getting from the medical uh whatever, the traditional medical people, it was helping. I don't, I highly recommend, like, if you are suffering from major depression, anxiety, like, reach out and get help. The medical profession can help. It can be a real hassle, and a lot of it can be trial and error, but it does help. But what I found was there was something missing that just wasn't getting me over the top. And so then I started looking, and I turned to um, Sylvia Brown to begin with, and trying to
Oh,
find
Sylvia Brown. I remember her.
yes. Yeah, and it was like, I wanted to be psychic so badly so that I could figure out, you know, what's happening, like, what's coming up in my life, like, is there anything worth staying alive for, really?
Mm,
And so that was the beginning of my kind of looking at the metaphysical, the spiritual, trying to
mhm,
develop my intuition, really having no idea what I was doing because I didn't know where
mhm.
to turn. I spent lots of time in a bookstore. I actually worked in a bookstore, so that was really great. So I got to actually keep uh, I got to see all the new books coming in and whatnot, and I kind of became our specialist in that area.
Oh,
But
and the unique connection.
yeah, yeah, it was like, anybody had metaphysical, question? It's like, oh, go see Shelley, and I like that. But I actually taught myself how to use. I started with oracle cards, but really couldn't figure them out, so I went to tarot because I figured, okay, there's a system.
Oh,
And
okay.
again, I was teaching myself. I was doing it more intuitively than reading, but it still wasn't giving me, I didn't know what to do with them. So then I started taking courses. And in 2013, I discovered Denise Lynn and her
Oh,
soul
I've heard of Denise
coaching.
Lynn. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I heard of her soul coaching uh, program. And as soon as I heard that, it's like, that's what I'm looking for. And so I immediately, signed up to go and take the training. That was about a week or so. That was down in her ranch at the time in California.
Oh,
And it
nice.
was just an incredible experience. And I
Mhm.
learned a lot. And I learned how to work with cards. I learned how to do soul journeys. I learned how to help people. But I came back and I'm still like, okay, now what do I do with this? So it's
Mm,
been a struggle. So basically, from 2013 till now, I've been trying to figure out really what I want to do to help people. And
mm.
in the last couple of years, I discovered the Akashic Records.
Oh, okay.
And
You want
that
to tell
just
people what the Akashic Records are?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So if you're not aware of the Akashic Records, what they are is an energy field where all of your actions, your consequences, what's happened in your lives, not just the current one, but your past lives as well, right from the time that you were first incarnated as a soul. And it's in
Right.
this, like, in the fifth dimension. And that's where your soul really resides. And through the records, you can actually access your information. And what I do with the training I've had is asking very specific questions to find out where, specifically, your soul's purpose.
Mhm.
The soul's purpose is really what your soul is really longing for.
Mhm.
It's based a lot on how it receives energy, because your soul has to have energy. We have to have energy from source somewhere in order to be alive. If we receive energy, we're not alive, basically.
So let me stop
So,
you for a second. So
yep.
the Akashic Records essentially is a collection or records of all of our incarnations, our soul's purpose, why we incarnated into this life, what our purpose is in this life. And we can access that information. Can anybody access that information? Do you have to
Um,
be trained specifically? Because there are a lot of people who do Akashic Records readings, right?
right. Yeah.
So
You you can access your own Akashic record. Anybody can. Accessing somebody else's, you have to have their permission. And there are certain ways.
right.
Oh, and again, it depends on what you've learned. Like I've studied with a couple of different people, and they have different ways of accessing the records. The
Mhm.
one I like is like actually going to the records, asking for permission from whoever soul it is that you're wanting to access, by getting
Right,
their
you have
data.
to ask permission, right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because we can't just go in and,
right.
decide like, "You know what? I wanna go read, I don't
Right, you
know."
can't
Uh,
spy on someone else's records,
y
right?
yeah, you
Right,
really can't, because they're very protected, and the records I kind of picture them as a big, huge library,
a
and everybody's got a
library.
book.
I've seen them like that in
Yeah.
meditation. Yeah,
Yeah. But, other people feel that they're just like, energy, which really it is. They're just energy, but everything's energy.
right,
So
right.
other people, look at it as a big computer database. So you can, go sit at a terminal and, type in your, asking for your record, and up it pops. But one of the things that I do that I have learned is we also want to look for what's blocking you in this life and why. And a lot of the blocks we have, and a block is basically something that just keeps us from moving in the direction that we really want to go.
Hmm.
And what that can be is as simple as, in a past life, maybe we made a vow of poverty because we
Oh,
were going into a nun, or you were becoming a
yeah,
nun, or something,
right,
or we made a vow of sacrifice because our parents or our mother was really struggling, and you vowed to help her, and you've had this little
right,
ceremony or whatever, but you became, that was part of you. And then even when your mother passed on, you didn't break that vow. You just still continue to hold on to that,
right,
and
so
it
it's almost
moves.
like a pattern that's repeating,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Right,
Yep.
yeah,
It can be a pattern. And it's interesting because there's no time, in like no linear time in the Akashic
oh,
records. So
mm,
then you can do you can look at what's happened. And so it might have been like 7 lifetimes ago that you took that vow of poverty. And in every lifetime since, it's probably been showing up
mm,
because it hasn't been resolved. So you may find that no matter how much money you make, you always end up spending it, or you
right,
feel
so
guilty
it's
for
this
having
pattern that
it.
just keeps on repeating and repeating and repeating,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And so what we can do is actually go in and clear it at the soul level. So we can get it out of the record and get it unstuck. But then the key is the person taking new action. Because if you continue to take the same action, you're not going to change your life. You're going to keep getting the same results, and it will build back up into your record again because you haven't really moved on
Right,
from it.
and that's interesting. So, for the people just joining us, we're talking about the Akashic Records with Shelley, and we're talking about what the records are and how it shows up for us in our life, and why we would want to even have an Akashic Records reading, right? If we're having trouble with money, right? If that's showing up and I keep on
Mhm.
self-sabotaging, that could be a pattern that needs clearing, right? Or healing or
Yeah.
releasing.
Yeah.
And then we would have um, a chance to look into the records and go
Yeah.
into a particular lifetime. And
Yeah.
when,
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No. Go,
Okay.
go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the thing about going into a past life and finding it, you don't need a whole bunch of details. A lot of people will get
Mm,
lost at the, oh, well, who was I and where was I? And, oh, well, who were my
right.
parents and all that. And it's like, not important. All you want to know is, why did I do this? What happened? What were the circumstances? And then, okay, great, that's why I did it. My parents were really poor. They had 6 kids and I was the oldest, and I got told, you're going to go become a nun because we can't feed you. And becoming a nun, you had to take a vow of poverty and sacrifice and whatever. And so that became your life, and you never let go of that. And so now it's
Mm.
still with you.
And what about the
um,
emotions? Like, I imagine there's probably a lot of emotions that come up in sessions
yes.
with people when they're is it like almost like you're experiencing those lifetimes and you're feeling the emotions as they come up as well? Or is it just from observing, please?
Well, some people will. Most what I get when I'm working with someone is they're like, "Oh, that makes perfect sense," or it's like, "Oh, that's why that's still happening."
Okay.
So it's not
Right.
so much you're emotionally involved, and
Okay.
that's what we don't want to really get into, because you don't have to relive it, because you actually are living it now. So it's more noticing, like, "Oh yeah, that is still showing up in my life." And then what we want to do is go, "Okay, so now that you recognize it, how can we come up with something that you can do instead of that?" So whenever maybe you
Right.
get a raise, and instead of, expecting that, oh, I'm going to have to fix my roof, or, the car's going to break down, or I
Right.
have to,
Struggle.
give this.
Right. Struggle. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, I'm getting more money, and that's great. And you know what? I'm going to set up my, my fun account, or, my travel account or something, and really take action. And it has to be something new. And usually it's outside the comfort zone,
So
because
you're helping people um, kind of reprogram the subconscious or reprogram, now that we've understood what the pattern is, now it's time to reprogram with something positive or a new action or a new affirmation or something to kind of replace the old pattern or paradigm.
um, it's more about taking action, because most of us, I mean, it's very easy to say, okay, I'm going to have a new affirmation. I, you know,
Mm,
I
right.
attract abundance. And that's great. I mean, and it helps. But if you
Mhm,
don't take action, if you don't start acting differently,
right.
you are not going to change. You're going to go right
Right.
back to
It's
that
just an
pattern.
affirmation. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of, we sometimes miss out on that when we're doing a lot of the spiritual work. It's kind of like, do your affirmations, do your vision boards,
Yes.
picture it and feel emotionally. And it's great. It helps. But if you just sit
If
there
you're
and
not
you
taking
get,
it, yes, that's
yeah,
so true.
yeah. And it's kind of and that's the tough part. I mean, I can sit and meditate, and I can sit and, give myself positive affirmations, but boy,
Right.
taking new action is like, is this really a new action? Or is this, something that I
Right.
used to do? And it's like, I'm going back to it. And is that really going to
Right.
help? So
So that's the work, right? That's the work in
yeah,
helping people figure out what that aligned action is and where the
yeah,
fears are and what's getting in the way of taking the
yeah,
action, right?
right.
Yeah.
And this is where the soul's purpose comes in as well,
Mm.
because we attract everything so easily when we are living our
Mm.
soul's purpose.
Oh my God, that's
And
so true. Yeah.
and what that one of the things that I guess I want to share is, I was talking about, like, we have to have energy coming into us. We have to get energy. And when we're aligned with our soul, it is open and flowing, and it is flowing in the manner that we were designed to receive energy. Not
Mm.
everybody receives energy the same way. So what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for the other.
Well,
And
that's
if you,
interesting.
yeah, that
Yeah.
was an eye opener for me.
And
And
how
it's
would you explain that? Like, what are the different ways to receive energy?
basically there's different. You receive it, like for myself. I'll just use me as an example.
Yeah.
My main way of receiving energy is through divine truth, and that is basically where my purpose comes in. My divine truth is being true to myself and living that, And my purpose goes right around that with helping other people understand their divine truth.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
so, but other people will have it through divine communication. And those are the people that are really good at being speakers. They're good at teaching. They're good at, being up in public.
Right.
And
So your energy is going to flow in the direction
yeah,
of your life purpose. That's fascinating. Wow, that's really cool. I like that.
it's
Yeah.
neat. And there's
Yeah.
like basically 8 different ways, and most people just have a one major way. Like you have access to all 8 ways, but the way you receive your energy is also the way that you create. So if you're
Mm.
somebody who's very, like for myself, I'm more visual. When I'm in alignment, like when I heard that, I'm like, I don't think so. People, I speak a lot. Yeah, I want to be a speaker. And that's not really working for me.
Well, that's
So
interesting.
yeah, it's
Okay.
trusting my intuition and more visible. And the actions I take have to kind of align. They have to align with that, not kind of. They need to align with that.
They need to
So
align with your with your purpose, right?
yeah, and how I, manifest, and basically you manifest in the easiest in the same manner that you receive the energy, because it's coming to you. You can it's open, and you can it's just the easiest to work with, because that's where most of your energy is, how most of your energy is coming to you.
So can
So,
you, when you work with people, are you able to help pinpoint where their purpose is and
yes.
like, okay, and how
Yeah,
they
that
manifest, how they receive energy. So for those
yeah.
of you who are watching, if you have any questions about your soul purpose or about how you receive energy or you manifest, put those questions in the chat. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit. So do you
Yeah.
have any examples of clients you worked with who maybe you helped them kind of pinpoint a purpose, or they were lost a little bit, or I'd be curious about that.
I have had a couple that one of them that comes to mind is she's just so enthusiastic about it. And she is working to get to, living her purpose. It's interesting though, because it's also a bit of a struggle, because
Mm,
in when you're focused on, like, I want to do card readings, or I want to help people spiritually somehow. And you've got this idea of what you're going to do. And then if it's really not quite in alignment with you, then
mm.
it's really tough to kind of go, oh, well, but that's what I want to do.
I
And
know,
some,
I was thinking that too
yeah,
before when we were talking. Yeah.
yes. Now there is a tweak to that, where if that's really what you're wanting to do, it may be harder for you. It may not make you, you may not be as prosperous or have this easy a flow. But if you kind of look at, okay, so I want to read cards, but I am more of an intuitive. I don't, the speaking, the talking, the communication isn't my strong point. I kind of flip back to me here, just because I can't remember that girl's uh, energy, the way she pulls it in, but I do know, like,
Mm.
she again is a reader, and so. But my way of communicating is the truth. I'm very blunt, and I still remember, even as a child, being, so like, you don't have any tact, do you? And I was like, nope, I don't have any tact.
That's
And
how it
that's
is.
really,
That's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, which
Yeah.
isn't always well received. So because people go, well, that was rude. And it's like, well, no, okay, and it's
Yeah.
oftentimes it'll be the truth that people don't want to hear. So if you're trying to do card readings, you're wanting to make sure then that the people you're working with aren't going to be offended if you're kind of blunt with them. If they're very emotionally centered people who
Mm.
really are empathetic and whatnot, and they don't want to be, the blunt truth, and here it is, they're not going to be really happy. So it also can, shift with, okay, how can I do what I want to do in a manner that still is in alignment with who I am?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Like
So it
blending, integrating. Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, so even if you're not um, a card reader, or you're not, the health practitioner, or that's not where your main strength is, if you're going after it or working at it in that same uh, energy as to what you're bringing, how you're receiving energy,
Mhm.
you can make it happen it just may not be as simple as if you'd gone into, if you're really supposed to be talking to people, well, maybe you need to shift your health practice into, so you're teaching them, or you're inspiring people, or you're, you're standing up in front of them instead of being a nurse or a doctor or a lab tech or whatever.
Right. So I have a question, because this is interesting. So it's almost like, and I was thinking this as you were talking before, it's like, okay, there's my soul purpose, but then I have all these things that I do that I want to do, and maybe they're not in alignment with my soul purpose. So why do you think that is? Do you think it's our ego that tells us what we should be doing, or that we go against our soul purpose, or what is that about? That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And really, it's because we have free will. We make choices, and we are responsible for absolutely everything we create, which is really hard when you're going like, well, okay, so why am I living in poverty? Like, 1 month's rent away from being evicted type of thing, and not sure how I'm going to pay my bills, but it's through the choices that you've made. And it may also be, from the past life, because you're still trying to, you're carrying that forward. But every choice we make is either, well, we call it like positive or negative. And it doesn't mean the positive and negative that we mostly, everybody says, oh, that's negative. It's basically, if you're making a positive choice, you're moving in alignment with your soul. If you're making a negative choice, you're just moving not in alignment with your soul. So
kind of going into maybe a lesson or some kind of growth period, right? It's not necessarily bad. It's just,
it's not bad at all. It's just you're not on your soul's path, and that can be perfectly fine. There are people out there who have no desire to live their soul's purpose because they're having fun doing what they've been doing, and that's okay. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It doesn't mean that, oh, you can't hang around with them or you can't talk to them. It's just, be aware that this is how they're living. It's interesting. I've done a little bit of my family, but as if you're a parent, as long as your children are under legal age, basically, so you're still responsible for them, you're paying their bills, you're looking after them, you can actually have a reading, like accessing their record, and it can totally change the way you parent, because all of a sudden you understand how they interact and what's best for them. And so and especially quite often, like they're totally different from the parents.
Or even maybe what the parents want for their children or expect them, right? And that's where parents get into trouble, I think, when they want their kids to be a certain way, right? So that's a more evolved parenting, looking at your child's Akashic Records, right? That's like, I wish my parents did that.
I'm kind of wishing mine had too, but so now I'm just doing them. So, and the other thing is too, provided you are like as I said, like they are very protected, your records. So like I can't just go in and access some like Rihanna's or Beyonce or whoever's like celebrity of the day. We don't have access to that because that's like snooping into somebody's business. The records are also governed by intention. So if your intention is, oh, I just want to know about this person, all you're going to get back is kind of, oh, curiosity. So you're not really going to get anything. Or what you get is not going to be really accurate.
Alpha Story says, my folks want me to be a debt accountant. Well, what do you want to be? What is your soul purpose? So what do you want to be? Right. And I think, like you mentioned before, Shelley, you had depression because you got caught up in what other people wanted you to be. And I think that's what causes us to be lost, right? When we're ignoring our soul's purpose, when our heart is speaking to us, and then it gets so drowned out by all this noise that we don't even know how to hear it. It's like the purpose is there. It's so obvious. We know it when we're little, don't we? Don't we know it?
I think we do. And I still remember, even when I was little, I wanted to help people, but I had no idea how to do
Me
that. So
too, me too. I always like, I want to help people. I didn't know
yeah,
how. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And the interesting thing I found was like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to have to be famous, like a singer or an actress or something
I
in
used to
order to
think
be able
that
to help
too.
people.
That's so
Yeah.
funny. Yeah,
Oh, there's a reason we connect so well.
I know. Yeah, I used to
It's,
think that too. I used to think I would be a famous actress, and
yeah,
that's how I'd be out in the world and help people. Because I
yeah,
think that's your heart saying that you have a message, right?
yeah,
That needs to be
yeah,
shared, and your light needs to be shared. Um, oh, yes, I knew what I wanted in my fifth grade yearbook. Yeah, that's right. You knew.
yeah,
Yeah, we know. We know,
yeah,
like when we're kids, we know. And then I think just society and our parents and everything
yeah.
gets in the way of that and makes us forget, right?
Right. And they also, like, I mean, especially for people who wanting to be like a holistic practitioner of some sort,
Right,
and I think that's not kind of the normal 9 to 5.
right,
You
right.
know, you're, and even because the person that wants to go or is supposed to go into accounting, yeah. If you're not thrilled with accounting, let me tell you, don't go into it. And yes, I am an accountant.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I am a certified accountant, and I still remember, yep, the graduation, the speaker saying how this is an incredible opportunity, and you're going to have all these choices, and I'm just thinking like, oh my gosh, I've made a horrible mistake.
Oh my God, well, he
Yeah.
actually, that's my boyfriend commenting, and he's
Oh, okay.
actually a gifted, talented musician and
Oh,
artist and
wow.
comedian.
Yeah.
He's so like I could
Yeah.
never see him as an accountant. I feel like that would kill his soul.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
all of those jobs or careers are not your normal, oh, you're going to have
no,
job
they're
security.
not, right, they're not.
Yeah. But guess what? There's an awful lot of those people who had normal jobs with job security who got let go when COVID happened.
Right,
So it's not
right.
necessarily that, having a job in an office or working for somebody else is really, that secure.
Well, we live in different
So I think,
times now too. I think the older
yeah,
generation has
yeah,
a more narrow,
yes.
definition of success or making
Mhm.
money. The internet and,
Yeah,
Zoom and everything changed, you know, the
yeah,
way we can make money and the way we can be entrepreneurs. And I think that maybe the older generation wants, right, security for their children and this and that. And when I
mhm.
was 13, I said to my mother I wanted to be an artist, or 12, something. And she said, I don't think you're good enough for that. And that, I
Crushes your soul.
I crushed myself, and honestly, I forgive her for that because,
Yeah,
she wasn't aware. Because in her
yeah,
mind, she's thinking, "Well, you're not gonna make money being an artist, right?"
yeah, yeah.
But that was very damaging.
It is, and it's an interesting how, parents especially can say things without meaning to harm the kid or, the person, but
Right.
the child takes it away, in a different way. I still remember being, I don't know, probably 4 or 5, and my mom looking at me after dinner or lunch or something and saying, "Why can't you be more like your sister? She doesn't have
Oh,
to ask to do the
the
dishes."
worst thing to
And
hear.
but all I heard was, "Why can't you be more like your sister?" So I'm like, "Okay, I'm not good enough as Shelley. I
Yeah,
have to
not
be
good
my
enough.
sister."
Oh,
Yeah, and she didn't, like, I mean, I'm sure she forgot about it, like, 2 seconds after she said it, but to me,
right.
it was just kind of like, "Oh, I'm not lovable." And it's
Yeah.
amazing what we hear that isn't necessarily what was intended.
Right, and then
But
you gotta wonder too, like, did we hear that so we could have that experience to learn from that? And, is that part of our soul's purpose too? Just getting over that lesson so we can heal from that,
right. Yeah.
right? It's
Or if
that,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Or, and it could be something that, again, is coming from a past life, so you're bringing it back to
right,
give yourself that opportunity to make a different choice.
right.
But I have to say, like, looking back at my life, which, um, was a struggle in a lot of ways, is that
Mm,
if I hadn't lived it, though, I wouldn't be able to help people the way I wanna help them.
exactly,
And
exactly. Yes.
yeah, and
Yeah,
I
that's
think that's
that's
what
part of
we have
our
to
life
look at.
purpose too, I think,
Yeah.
having these life experiences so we can help others.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks sometimes that doesn't happen.
Yes, and I think if you know more of who you are at a soul level, it's a
Yeah.
little bit easier because you might understand the lessons a little better. And I'm not huge into, oh, we have a whole bunch of lessons we have to learn. I think we actually
And
just come here to have
contracts and all
fun.
that stuff, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know
but
there's a lot
and
of people who talk. I think that we're allowed to absolve all those contracts if we want.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
and we can do that at in the records.
Oh,
So the
okay.
contracts we've made, bargains, if we have somebody that's attached to us that's, maybe no longer here, but they're still attached to us because of a bargain we made in this lifetime, or because you guys were really, really close and the empathy is kind of still there and it hasn't, I don't know, there's still an attachment to it. And that can be very draining because you're kind of
Oh my God. Yeah.
supplying energy to, yourself and then another soul.
Another person.
So
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, and this doesn't have to be scary. It's not like, oh, you're going to be possessed or anything. It's just the fact that, there's times that we just don't let go properly, or we're still trying to carry out the contract we made, even though they're no longer here in a physical form. But
You're not
it's just,
aware of it though, right? You're not
yeah,
conscious of that. Yeah.
yeah. And so again, things like that, you can clear in the records. And then, part of my sessions is that we look to see what actions you can take that work for you, because I could suggest things, but that may not work for you at all. So it's really a process where you have to get involved. You have to want change in your life to
Yes, you
get a
have to be
really good, yeah,
sure. Yeah.
yeah. Because otherwise it's like, oh, it's great information. Okay. But, information needs to be dealt with. You need to
Right.
do something with it.
How are you going to apply that to change
Yeah.
your life? Right.
Yeah.
And yes, this is an awesome conversation. So for those of you who are joining, we've been talking about the Akashic Records, and Shelley does have some cards tonight.
Yes.
So those of you who would like her to pull some cards for you, please put your questions in the comments. She can pull some cards for you, right? You do some coaching with the cards.
I do. And I love it. And to me, cards are just a way of tuning into your soul.
I love them
Because,
too.
yeah. There's no magic in the cards. There really isn't. It's the fact that it gives your brain something to focus on.
It's a tool, right?
Yeah, it is. And that's what it is. And it's surprising how deep you can go with cards, though, and how you can keep digging layer after layer to, try to get to the root of an issue.
Do you use tarot, or you use oracle cards, or both?
I'm using more oracle cards these days, just because I feel it's interesting. Once I learned how to use them, I'm like, oh, this is so much fun. So
They
yeah,
are fun. Yeah, I
they
feel like
are.
tarot cards. I actually pull a cards for myself every morning, and it helps me like focus on my day and focus on the guidance and the lessons or whatever are coming through. And I always find that tarot cards are almost like very dramatic. Don't you find that they're almost, it's like, it seems like they're more dramatic than something that's actually happening. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
yeah, it does. And I think that's why most of my tarot decks are more like angel tarot decks,
Okay.
because they're
Yeah.
not quite as, I don't know if it's violent or just
Yeah, they're
stormy. Yeah. And I mean,
kind
you
of like
still get the
gloomier.
message.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do have a few of those but I still try to make them not the really gloomy ones.
Yeah.
I have to say I'm kind of having a shift towards the Rider Waite, because I've never liked that deck, but I
Oh,
was
the
doing
writer.
some studying with it. And it's like, okay, well, maybe this isn't quite as bad as I thought, but I've never been drawn to it. So
Yeah, it
it's interesting.
sometimes I think they're so harsh. Like today I pulled the
Yeah.
10 of swords and it's like a man with swords in his back. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I hate, I'm like, oh, why did I get this card? You know?
Yep. It's like,
Well,
who's stabbing me in the back
yeah,
today?
but it's not. It's just, and then you read the description and it's just, oh, you're
Yeah.
feeling defeated or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I feel like they can be very harsh, whereas I feel oracle cards, they're more insightful as
Yeah.
to what's going on in your heart and your
Right.
soul, and they're more guidance driven. But the tarot cards can be so accurate.
Oh,
I mean,
yes, they can. Yeah.
so accurate where it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
They
Crazy.
they really are amazing because we really do get some really good guidance and just some clarity. And a lot of
Clarity.
times that's all we
Yeah.
need is some clarity around like what do we need to do now? Because oh my gosh, some days the choices you have, there's kind of like the best of the worst of them.
Yeah. And then you
Yeah.
pull cards and then you have to pull more cards because you're still
Yep.
not sure.
Yeah. And all of a sudden you're at what, 78 cards? And it's like, okay, yep, I like this one.
Yeah. So please, anyone who would like a card pulled, Tony, do you want some cards pulled? If you're still watching, maybe you could pull some cards for
Yeah.
Tony. He's my boyfriend.
Well, that's
Um,
good.
he so he's a cartoonist. He has a day job, but a cartoonist at night, and that's really his dream of
Right.
making that cartoon his full-time job. Um,
Awesome.
so maybe you could pull some cards for him if I think he's probably
Sure.
still watching. If anyone would like a card pulled,
Yeah.
Shelley, please let us know while we have some time left. If you have a question,
Yeah.
or if you just want some guidance, a good opportunity.
All right. Interesting. So the card I got for Tony is Heavenly Helpers.
Oh,
And the first thing that comes to me here, although when I'm doing coaching, I will ask my client, like, so what does this mean to you? Or what's grabbing you from this card? Is there something in the image? Is there something in the words, the heavenly helpers? Maybe it's the 25 because this is the 25th card. Maybe there's something in the little spiel at the bottom that's grabbing you. So I want to ask my my clients, like, what's grabbing you? Because they may go to something that I'm not. But since I can't do that at the moment, I will say the thing that kind of jumps at me is that he's not alone in doing this. Like he does have people around him. I would say his guides are really there to help him. And if he's wanting to do this, there's ways he can do it. Has he thought about like just kind of making his own cartoon comic or whatever and just publishing it himself on
so he's
online or
actually,
whatever?
it's an
Yeah.
animated cartoon,
Okay.
and
Okay.
it's out there. It's out there on social media. I think
Okay.
he wants to make money from it. That's
Right. Yeah.
yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
And that's where I would say, if he's inclined to, check with his guides because they may have ideas that come through
Yeah.
that will help them. Because the heavenly helpers part is really kind of, that was what jumped at me right
So
away.
some more divine assistance, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
sometimes we struggle thinking, oh, I've got to do it all myself.
Right.
Nobody's going to
Yeah.
help me do
I see that
this.
being true for him. Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I think it's true for more of us than
Well,
we realize too. But
most of us. That's right. We don't ask
yeah,
for help, right?
yeah, and they're there, ready to help us, but
I
they
know,
have to be asked.
because we have free will, right? Oh, so we have
Yeah.
a couple more people asking for
Oh,
cards.
oh, good.
Jean Marie says sure, and Sharon, uh, Brenseke. I'm probably messing up your last name. And Kelly coming. Oh, we have a couple of
Okay,
people there for you.
awesome.
So,
Thanks. Okay,
yay.
so the first one was
Jean
Jane.
Marie. Yeah.
Okay, so
Mhm.
I'm just going to ask for some general guidance for Jean.
That's always good, right?
Yeah. It's a starting point, because oftentimes we don't know what we're really wanting to ask or what we need.
Right.
Okay.
I always ask, what does the universe want me to know?
Yeah, that. And you get some really great answers there. So what came up for you is, Jean, is unwavering faith.
Oh, I love
And
that.
you are being asked to have faith in the unseen. Now,
Mm.
I'm actually being drawn to the flower here. I'm calling it a flower. And sorry, I keep going the wrong way from my camera. So I would ask, what does a flower mean to you? I kind of look at this as almost like a sort of a rose. I don't know, but I'm kind of pulled to roses. So maybe this is coming up as something different for you. One of the things that with a flower, they have faith. Like they don't worry about, am I going to be able to grow? Am I going to get my seeds?
Right.
Are my roots going to be there?
It's
They
just innate. Right.
yeah, they just relax and it's like, okay, here's what I do. As long as I get some water and
Well,
some
she says
sunshine.
growth.
Yeah. Okay. And your growth is there but you may not see it right now. And that's okay. Oftentimes it kind of sneaks up on us, but that's also because we don't always pay attention to what's coming up in our lives. So I would encourage you to kind of try to think more like, how does a flower react in this situation? If I were a flower
I
and,
love that.
yeah, if I were a flower, how would I react here? And also, I had another thought, but it's gone out of my mind. So, but that's really what's coming through
That's
is really
nice.
looking at
That's a great message.
that.
I like
Yeah,
that.
and pay attention what does show up in your life, because oftentimes we'll take new actions, but we don't really pay attention to what shows up. And 3 weeks later, we'll go, oh, well, nothing happened. And then if you really went back and looked, you see a day after, it's like, oh, there was this little thing that, I kind of noticed, but then I just brushed it aside as, oh, well, that's coincidence.
Right. Awareness.
So, yeah.
Right.
So, all right. So hopefully that helps. And
the
the next,
Sharon is our
Sharon?
next. Yeah.
Okay. And again, just some general guidance.
This is so nice. I love this.
I love doing the cards, and I keep trying to. I think part of my what keeps me wavering back and forth is like I'm trying to figure out, how do I do cards with the Akashic Records readings, and how do I combine them? And
right?
Yeah. So
yeah, why not?
every time, yeah. So, okay, we're gonna go with this card. So Sharon, we've got spiritual growth for you.
Oh wow, that's really pretty.
It is. And I'm going to have to read it this way. You are currently experiencing a lesson required for your spiritual evolution. So there may be something that you're going through that you're kind of frustrated with, or that's not going the way you had planned it to go. And that's okay, because we're not really responsible for the hows. We are more responsible for the actions that we're taking and looking for guidance from the soul, from our guides, from angels. I'm kind of being pulled right to this area of the card.
That beautiful purple.
Yeah.
And higher wisdom, higher knowledge.
Yeah. And accessing that and allowing yourself to do that, because when you do start shifting so that you're accessing higher wisdom, that you're kind of working with your crown chakra more, it changes you and you cannot go back. And that's the thing that I think was like, oh, well, I started, but you know what? I'm a little nervous. So I'll just go back to how things were. You can't. Once you've learned it, you can't unlearn it.
And that card too, like there's that purple and it's kind of coming from the black. I almost that darker color, and I almost feel like it's saying that wisdom and knowledge is born out of that lesson or that growth or that dark period, right?
Yeah.
That's the gem. That's the right. That's the knowledge from that darkness, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's a great way of looking at it. And I love that you said that, because you can see how different people will look at the same card and pull different things. And that's why I always like to ask my clients, like, what do you see in this? Where are you drawn? because they may be drawn to something totally different, and that's okay. There's no, I like to say, like, there's no right way to read a card. It's
like you said, it's a tool. It's for the purpose of,
yeah.
Master of Light says, hello, you two. Hello. Sharon says, very true. T would like a card. Okay, we got a couple of people after. So Sharon, that seemed to resonate with her.
Oh, good.
It's like really good cards so far we got
I
here.
love this deck.
Yeah, I like how you can interpret the different meanings like that. Stacy wants to know what deck is that?
It is the Intuitive Life Coaching Oracle by Kelly T. Smith.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that.
It's a really nice one. Yeah.
So who was? Kelly.
Kelly, I think, yeah.
I would like a card, but I'm doing homework with my son. Is it being recorded? You can watch the replay, Kelly. I might have to turn off the volume. I need help. You can watch the replay. Yeah.
Interesting that she's doing homework with her son, because the card that came out for her was spiritual teacher. Yeah. So you're being guided to step into your role as a spiritual teacher. So I don't know what kind of homework you're doing, but I'm getting the sense that you are also supposed to be helping your children or your child understand more of the spiritual instead of just the everyday stuff that you learn at school. And also that it's not just for your family or friends, that there is something that you're here to share with people. But again, I would ask you, what comes to you from this card? Where are your eyes drawn? This little leaf or seed or whatever is kind of coming out to me too. And I look at that and go like, I'm really not sure what that is, but that's okay that I don't know what it is. And it's okay if you're teaching things, or you're thinking you're wanting to teach something, but you're really not sure that you know enough about it. What's coming to me is that it's okay. As long as you know more than the people you're teaching, it's okay. You can teach them because you've got that little bit more knowledge.
Yeah, I like that. I think what's coming up for me is also like the unexpected, I feel. Somehow there's an energy there. It's like you're not quite sure what it is, right? But it's something unexpected, and it kind of reveals itself to you as you watch it, as you look for it. It will reveal, that's pretty cool. I like these cards.
They are really neat. And it's interesting because in the guidebook, like, she actually has questions that you can ask to go deeper into the cards and whatnot.
Right. Yeah. So I think Kelly's, but it seems like it will, what she's supposed to teach will kind of reveal itself to her. Yeah. Right. That's cool. That's really cool. Yes. I hope that resonates, Kelly, and you can hear that while you're doing homework.
That was just you can't make these things up, right?
I know, that was pretty cool. So I think we have a couple of more ladies. I think Stacy. She said, Kelly said, I need those cards. Stacy.
Stacy, what guidance does she need? You can probably hear the cards shuffling, but I just shuffle until I feel, until I feel guided to grab a card, or one kind of just pops out.
Right. Or sometimes they fall out. Isn't that funny when that happens? I'm like, all right, that's your card.
All right. Okay. So, who are we doing? Stacy.
Stacy. Yeah.
All right. So what's coming up is parting ways.
Oh, wow.
Now, the first thing that comes to me is like, maybe you're parting in a relationship. But that doesn't have to be a relationship. It could be parting ways with a job or with, something.
Or something.
Yeah, on that. So it may be time to move on from this person or situation. So I'm not really sure what you're going through right now or what's happening right around you. But the parting ways card is kind of giving you a heads up that where you are may not be the best, the best for you. You may want to, I like the changing your ways or changing your thoughts, coming up with, new ways of thinking and new ways of doing things.
Yeah, I like that. And it almost feels like if you look at it, it looks like flowers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a garden. And it almost makes me feel like maybe plant new seeds for something else, you know, when you're
Oh,
ending,
right.
it's
Yeah.
time to grow something else, right? Yeah,
Right. And we're
yeah,
still in the new moon phase too, if I
yeah.
remember correctly.
And
So that is a time for
the 22222.
yeah, yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Which
We decided to do that today, that 2222 energy.
yeah. And I posted that it comes up to an 8 numerology through numerology, and I'm in an 8 year. So
Oh,
that just and
okay.
8 is all about power and abundance and taking, stepping into who you are and living your
Ah,
truth. So I think
yeah,
we
that's
have a really
perfect.
good day to do that. So
Oh,
just
Sharon says you both have great chemistry together. Awesome podcast.
oh,
Yay!
yay,
Thank you,
thanks.
Sharon. I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah,
Did we have, I think we had one more person.
I
I think
think
we had
so.
T.
Right.
T. She's been my friend on Facebook for a while.
Oh, okay.
I would like to
Gotcha.
try good evening, everyone. Yeah, let's pull a card for T, and then I think that'll be our last
That's one. Okay.
lady for the evening. Hi, Lorna. Hi.
So T, intuition is what comes up. And
Oh,
I
trust.
would encourage you to take a look at the card and see what jumps at you. What are you intuitively drawn to? Is it the word or the word intuition? Is it the number, the image? I see something in the card, but I don't want to say in case you're seeing something different.
Mm,
But really, to me, it's like you need to trust your intuition. It will help you, but you have to work with it. It doesn't happen overnight. Uh,
mm.
I'm the person that wants to say that, oh yeah, I'm sure, if I want to use my intuition, I just have to use it. It'll just happen. It's like you really have to work at it and
Yeah,
exercise
it's a
that intuition
practice.
muscle. Yeah.
Yeah, like
And
meditation and putting
yeah.
effort into. When I look at that
Yeah.
card, it's like I see a book opening to
Oh,
reveal
wow.
flowers. And it's almost like Spirit is saying they want you to just imagine like you're opening up a book and
Right.
the intuition, the truth is in there. So it's like more concrete for you and less abstract, right? Because when we
Yeah.
think of it, intuition, it's like an abstract, like where does that come from? What is that, right? But if we
Right.
give it, maybe she needs a more concrete way to understand how to access it. It's like opening a book, right?
Yeah.
You know.
It's interesting because one of my mentors taught that was one of her ways of working with intuition.
Oh
Is like,
wow,
have a book beside you, ask a question, and then just flip open the book
I'm gonna
and
do that right
and
now.
whatever, kind of wherever it opens, you'll be drawn to a word, and that's going to help with your, that's kind of the
Oh my
guidance.
God. I just opened up, I had the Sophia code right next to me, and I just opened up to the word forgiveness.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
That makes sense.
And it's amazing how it just works.
Yeah,
And I mean, I'm still like, my logical mind's going, how does that work? I don't, how did you know to pick that
because
page?
there's
Yeah.
intelligence in everything. Like you
Yeah.
said, everything is energy. There's intelligence in everything beyond. She said she saw a butterfly. Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, cool. Because
Yeah.
I saw a wine glass, and I don't even drink wine, but to me that was like the inside of the
Oh,
book, all those
interesting.
flowers. I'm looking at that as a wine glass. I have no idea why.
Maybe she likes to drink wine.
But I love, again, like you can just see how so many people can look at the same card and get a
Yes.
different message because that's how they're done. These cards, Kelly T. Smith actually states in her book somewhere that she designed them to be more abstract instead of really structured
Yes.
so
Love
that
it.
you would have to use your intuition. Because
Yeah.
oftentimes if you've got that, here's the person, you can see it's a guy with,
Yeah.
dark hair, or, it's the king of whatever. And,
Yes.
you get really drawn into it. But here, when it's abstract, your intuition has to kick in.
Oh, she said it all resonates. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Amazing. Oh, Sharon, you read the Sophia Code. Yeah. I can't get fully into it. I'm in and out of that book, but
Yeah.
it was interesting. So I think we're gonna wrap it up soon. I don't want to keep you
All right.
longer. We said an hour. But I want for those of you who joined us, we talked a lot about the Akashic Records in the beginning. And Shelley does do a lot with the Akashic Records and card readings. I'm going to pop up if you want to tell everyone what you're doing, what you have going on lately, what's up and coming for you.
I am offering a discounted price on my Akashic Records readings. So if you put in a code, I haven't come up with a code for this. I will post it underneath here with a code for it, because I've just kind of decided to do this right in this moment.
Comments. Yeah, if you go on my Facebook page and you put it in the comments.
I will put it in a comment, and I will give you guys, anybody that's watched the first podcast.
That's nice. That's nice,
a
Shelley.
discount on that. Yeah. And I'm also doing some 20-minute readings that are kind of coaching, kind of just, helping you to get some guidance. And I've got those on sale right now for $33. I think I went up February 1st. Sorry, guys. Yeah. So, but if you want to, get a 20-minute card reading, we can work with that, and, whatever question you've got or whatever situation you're wanting some guidance around.
That's awesome. So, yeah. And I also have my website up there too. You can see our websites there. Right. So I have a couple of friends watching. I think you guys, most of them watching, I think, is from my page. But I have so I have my website up there. I'm also doing light language activations and channel readings and messages. If you go to my website there, I have my Facebook group you can join. It's called Successful Spiritual Entrepreneurs, and we welcome all spiritual entrepreneurs. Or Shelley, are you in the group? I
don't know if I am or not, but I will be joining it. I just want to say that I'm actually ShellyKitching.ca, because there is another Shelly Kitching who stole ShellyKitching.com, and she's in Australia. Yeah.
So I got that from your bio you sent me. I copied and pasted it.
CA. Okay, well, I'm sorry.
I don't know, maybe it auto-corrected it to .com.
Might have.
I don't know.
So sorry, but so it's ShellyKitching.ca.
Okay, .ca. Yeah.
No
that's funny. There's another Shelly Kitching.
Yeah.
And I also, for those of you watching Spiritual Entrepreneurs, I also have an upcoming workshop where we're teaching you how to create an online program to create income and attract high-ticket clients, and how to activate abundance doing that. So that's exciting for me, coming up soon as well. I think we had a fabulous night tonight. I think this was
I had fun.
You had fun? Me too.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
Me too. I think this was a great first podcast. Thank you all for watching. I'm so excited. Shelley's been an amazing guest. I hope you'll contact her for a reading, and check us out. Check me out next week. I'll be interviewing Joanne Barry Colon. I think I say her name right. I hope I'm saying it right. We'll be talking about stuck emotions in the body and self-love, and we'll be talking about astrology and numerology. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Thank you for watching, everyone. Yay. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.